And okay, now it's officially no longer relevant, which means I can talk about it. Adobe, right? Like, whew. Okay, so I'm pretty late to the party, but as we're all aware, Adobe's gone to shit, causing a lot of its users to finally leave that toxic ship in search for something better, including myself, and a lot of you, I imagine. And while I've seen a lot of people make videos on the whole ordeal and what programs to switch to, there's one thing that I miss about Adobe that I haven't really seen many people talk about. Swapping to a new software suite comes with its sacrifices, mainly, you know, having to relearn every single program. But you know what I miss? I miss the design, I miss the UI, the icons. It was all so, you know? There was just something so nice about having all your programs feel interconnected with the same UI and design elements. It all resulted in such a nice sense of cohesion in the user experience. And I miss it. So, with that out of the way, I want to pitch a small but simple solution, along with a little surprise for those who stick around to the end. Please, I need the watch time. Now, before I pitch the idea, I quickly want to go over the programs that I've replaced my Adobe Suite with. Trust me, it's important for the actual pitch and the solution. So I'll quickly go over the list, mentioning some pros and cons for those who may still be stuck in that toxic relationship that is Adobe. Now, these are the main programs that I used while I still had the Adobe Suite, and the ones that I would need replacing for. So, let's start with the first one. One of the Adobe programs that I probably used the most was definitely Photoshop, whether it be for thumbnails, texturing, drawing, or other things. And luckily for us, there are a lot of great replacements out there. I'm sure we've all seen this photo making the rounds again, or at least a few months ago. Anyways, the program I opted for was Clip Studio Paint. And while it doesn't have all the exact same features as Photoshop, it definitely still gets the job done. And unlike Adobe, operates on a pretty affordable one-time payment license, which is always a plus. Of course, depending on which version you get. It's great for basic photo editing, but it is still primarily an art program, so if you're more into photography, a different program might be better for you. So for Premiere Pro, like many others, I opted for DaVinci Resolve, which is what I edited my last video in. There's a free version and it feels pretty familiar if you're also coming from Adobe, though make sure you change some of the key bindings, specifically the snap delete versus the regular delete, because oh my god, the amount of times I f***ed that up and changed my entire timeline without even noticing. Now, aside from just being familiar, it also has some neat extra features that, as far as I know, don't really exist in Premiere Pro. Things like fusion macros and power bins, with which you can make your own customizable and easy to reuse effects and assets. So honestly, for standard video editing, I think DaVinci Resolve is actually better than Premiere. And that's me talking about the free version. Not to mention that the render time is faster, the overall editing workflow is much easier. There's only a handful of things that I'd personally like to see changed, but those might be present in the paid version, which I am considering getting at some point. Now, while I was never really one to use Illustrator a lot, I do need it every now and then for vector graphics, and one of my friends actually recommended the program Inkscape. And while I'm not huge on the UI, any version of it really, I do love its workflow way more than Illustrator's. 3ds Max works versus Blender, encouraging a more non-destructive workflow by stacking modifiers and effects on top of one another, allowing you to easily change things earlier in the stack, which can then drastically change things down the line, allowing you to make large changes without needing to remake everything from scratch. And I'm sure Illustrator probably has a lot of non-destructive options as well, but I was never really that good at it, to be honest, so take my opinions with a grain of salt here. Now for Audition, I opted for the obvious choice, which is Audacity. And honestly, this is one of those programs where I'm kind of on. It gets the job done and has the functionality, but it feels a bit too primitive, and its dark mode is really ugly. A lot of people have been recommending Reaper, so I might eventually swap to that, but currently for audio recordings I'm still using Audacity. Okay, so with this one I hit a bit of a roadblock. I've actively been looking around for an After Effects alternative, and while I haven't really found one that hits all the same cylinders, I've seen people recommend things like Cavalry, or just using Fusion inside of DaVinci Resolve, but none of them really seem to hit that perfect blend of animated graphics and compositing. Not to mention that out of the Adobe suite, this is probably the most complex program, meaning that whatever I replace it with will be the hardest thing to relearn. As of right now, I'm just deciding to stick with Fusion in a DaVinci Resolve, but do let me know if you guys can think of some good alternative for After Effects, and I'll make sure to try them out. Okay, so now that I've gone over the programs that I've replaced in my Adobe suite, it's time for my solution. Like I mentioned, the thing that I missed the most about the Adobe suite was how interconnected everything felt. And while I can't exactly recode or create add-ons for all these programs to have their UIs match, since I really wouldn't know how to, I do have the next best thing. And that is to give you the illusion, like they're all part of the same suite, by replacing all of their icons to match and mimic the Adobe ones. Okay, I know, it's a very simple solution and doesn't really solve the overarching problem, but it does give my brain an unreasonable amount of satisfaction. And since most of these programs won't be open at the same time, it gives a nice illusion that these are all part of the same package. And you know what the best part is? You can do this too. Remember that little surprise I mentioned at the start of the video? In the description, you can go ahead and download the pack that I made with the replacement icons for all of my programs. This includes 2 different versions for each icon. I myself am more fond of the icon-based ones. Along with that comes the Inkscape source file. It's an SVG, so you should be able to open it in your vector program of choice, so you can create your own custom icons for programs that you use. Or alternatively, if this video does well enough, I could always do a follow-up where I release a more expanded pack, taking some requests for programs that a lot of you guys use. Now, for those who do download the pack but don't know how to change their icons, here's a quick tutorial. So just simply go to the Start menu, look up the program you'd like to change, right-click, and open the file location. Once there, you can right-click on the executable file, go to Properties, and go to the Shortcut tab, and click Change Icon. Then you browse to where you've saved the icon, go to the ICO folder, and choose your type, and apply. Now, simply do this for all the programs you want, and boom, your own little at-home Adobe suite. So, that's my little pitch. I know it's a bit of a different video, but it's just been something that's been on my mind. Anyways, I hope this gives you guys the same unreasonable satisfaction, or maybe that's just me. Regardless, let me know if you guys like this little idea, and do all that stuff to feed the algorithm. Because, if I'm honest, I haven't fed him in a while, and at this point, I'm scared to.